Hello and happy Monday. Just a couple of seconds. Amy is going to join as well. She's leading today the delivery quick call. We're in another call and she's just wrapping up. So I would say let's start. She will join when she can. This is Monday, 13th of March, 2023, EMEA and America Delivery Group Weekly. So we have, thank you, Mara, for the reminder of the monthly AMER. So I guess, please, let's give it a read and come ask with some question if it's needed, even in advance is even better. Some people being off, and then we have the first discussion point that is from myself. So what I wanted to discuss a bit is what the entire team would expect from this work that we are doing behind the OKR of measuring, reducing deployment pipeline efficiencies. This is the OKR that we are working on in system for this quarter. We already started to track several metrics and traces. So now I would like to have a discussion with the entire team to understand what would be the wish for this work from the wider group, to see if we are missing something, to see if there is something that we overlooked, not only from the data that we are tracking, but also in which will be the best way for the team to access this data and how we can generate the most value out of this data, right? Because most of the time we have a lot of data, but if you don't have the right way to approach it and to expose it, and we are not, it's not easy to access, clearly we cannot extract this value. So I would like to have like a wider group discussion here to see if there is something missing that we didn't already discuss, or having some wishes that not only coming from system, because this is a kind of a system geared OKR so far, but this is going to benefit by everybody, right? Everybody's in release management. Everybody's going to look at those metrics or those traces. For instance, this morning, Alessio was asking a question about how we can, use these traces better. So far, we didn't have this data. So far, we are not even expert in understanding which are the exact use cases we want to have on this data. And I think would be a good starting discussion point to see if, since we are 6-7 weeks out from the end of the quarter, if we need to steer a bit the direction where this OKR is going to produce more value for ourselves. Vladimir, raised hand.
Yes. So basically, that was exactly what we discussed with Ahmad like a few minutes ago.
Okay, perfect.
So, and we looked at the whole epic. Well, first of all, now we split in efficiency and KPI epics, right? So we have like a different dedicated epic for KPI and dedicated epic for in pipeline and efficiency. I think that, so on this main epic about pipeline and efficiency, for me, it looks like it's a bucket of ideas and metrics that taken just for the sake of metrics. So it looks very sporadic, honestly. And I think that well, the goal of this should, how to say, we should have our observability system should be able to answer specific questions. And the specific questions are like where we should go, where do we optimize, what is our main target for the optimization? Because having the metric that telling you that amount of failure job increased yesterday and decreased today doesn't tell you anything. I think like from the observability point of view, we should think about like the whole chain of decisions. So you have a data from one side and you have a decision on another side, because by looking at the data, you need to decide something. Okay, there is data in the sake of data doesn't make sense. Data should drive the decision-making process, right?
Yeah.
And also having, from my point of view, again, I might be wrong, but from my point of view, having the aggregated data exposed already kind of limits us on more granular thingy. I would better not to, if we are thinking about metrics, like the first thing that we need to think is like what the question answers this metric. If we have some fluctuation or spike on that metrics, what is our decision going to be? And having what's the good word? Having data, like exposing data derivatives, it's not the best approach from my point of view. We need to expose the data itself and then build aggregation and derivative on top of that, because derivative is actually an analysis on the lower level data, right? And you can build a lot of those derivatives on top of the pure data. And also what we also discussed with Ahmad today is like we have a delivery process, right? And delivery process starts with the packages. We cannot deliver more packages than we actually build, right? So therefore, we have this package build pipeline is our kind of entry point, and it's our bottleneck. And we should optimize for the bottleneck. And we see like we should produce the same amount of deployments per day as we produce amount of packages we produce, right? And then we should think, and here is our main question that we wanted, me and Ahmad wanted to discuss with the team. What is our optimization strategy? We're optimizing for delivery, for the MTTP, or we're optimizing for the stability, because you can deploy packages twice an hour with success of 50%, and you will have like a MTTP of 1 hour. Or you can have you can deploy packages once an hour with success of 100%, and you also will have MTTP of 1 hour. And like, where is the point? Like, what is the main strategy? Do we want to push the things faster, or we want to optimize for stability, that every single package delivered successfully? I think from my point of view, since we have this bottleneck of like a package pipeline in common kind of capacity of the packages, amount of packages that we have, we cannot optimize more for MTTP, more for like we cannot, like, sorry, let me rephrase it. All the optimizations that lead us to deliver faster will not make sense since we are building X amount of packages per day. So I would say that we need to first start with optimization for this bottleneck and see that we have like a smooth flow of the packages to the production, and we don't have bottlenecks. We don't pile the packages. We don't like pause them for certain reasons, or etc. etc. So we everything that we build, we deliver, and then on the next milestone, we optimizing this pipeline that delivers the packages, right? We and then we can just we build faster and deploy faster. And from observability point of view, so back into observability point of view, we need to have we need to have a visibility of this flow, right? Like where we are, how we are, like how many packages we are producing, how many packages we successfully delivering, what is the time for these packages, because like we cannot deploy slower than the interval between packages that produced. And then, well, again, like coming back to DORA metrics, that should be like the overview. And again, like I already discussed that. And like DORA metrics is a good starting point. And then you should be able to, in case of something, like in case of like you want to optimize the pipeline itself, and you see from the DORA metrics that something wrong with pipeline, we don't deliver fast enough. And then you should be able to drill down and see where exactly on the chain it's kind of taking longer or failing unexpectedly. And also, I would also think that we might switch our kind of mind from getting the metrics out of the skies to have like a proper SLOs for deliveries, because SLOs is where we are react. SLO, like a breakage of SLO triggers the action, should trigger the action. And then we have like a, for example, I will finish soon, sorry. And we have a SLO for the lead time, right? So, and it's kind of 12 hours, right? If I'm not mistaken. And then also SLO for the failures. And we measure how many like average failure rate we have. And we set the baseline at the very beginning. We set the baseline. So we have like a average failure rate is X amount of failures per day. And then we set the SLO for that rate, for this baseline, and we alarm if this SLO breaks. If SLO breaks, then we need to do something with that. And once we are stable enough with this SLO and with this baseline, we will lower down the baseline and make it more efficient. So that's like what we discussed with Ahmad today, and also I discussed with different team members. But yeah, we just wanted to bring it to the team, basically.
Thank you, Vladimir. I was actually spending a bit of time last week in trying to build a model in where we spend time. And well, before this, you touched many things. So the metrics out of the sky, like number of things that failed or things like that, is because here we are mixing two different efforts. One, it was about trying to figure out if there is a reference or a metrics to release manager struggle, release manager workload. And so those type of things were kind of, let's try to count and aggregate data, because we always have this, how do you feel about the release management? Yeah, it's tough. I spent a lot of time doing things. And so the idea was, are there low-level metrics that kinds of represent this type of things, which is things are not moving by themselves, but someone went there and did something. And so, and this is nothing, I mean, it's an inefficiency because something failed and you had to figure things out, but it's not an inefficiency in terms of, when the system is stable, where is low, okay? That being said, we had spent a lot of time and effort thinking about if reducing the number of waste in terms of a package produced was a good move. And if you, I mean, we will look at those numbers later when we go through the dashboard. We already are counting those things. And what I'm thinking right now, and what was trying to build a model to explain, is that this is not the way forward. So we should waste more packages. And the reason why we should waste more packages is that we can build more packages than the one that we can deploy. But if something goes wrong, it takes 12 hours to get back on track. So I'd rather just waste packages constantly. And when I'm ready to deploy, get the most recent one, because this one will kind of close the gap and give me and kind of reset MTTP, because the point of MTTP is based on merge request level. So we're not, our key metrics is not on packages to production, is on from merge to production. And so the amount of changes inside a package level out the MTTP value itself. Because if you have thousands of changes and they are 3 days old, this is 3 days of MTTP for thousands of changes. But if you can keep building, so by the time you actually deploy something, you may have those 100 packages, 100 merge requests that are 3 days old, but you can also have something that has just 1 hour. And so you end up lowering that value, because while you bring something that has 3 days of MTTP, you are also deploying something that has 7-8 hours, something like this.
So sorry. So you basically answered my question. We are not optimizing for stability, but we are optimizing for the speed, for the delivery time, right?
That's another problem that I wanted to touch because you mentioned it, right? So the thing about optimizing the process itself works very well if you are in control of every aspect of the process, but we are not. So that's the problem, right? So we can act directly as let us react to something quickly on something that we control. So we broke release tools. Good. Then we can react, figure out. So I'll give you an example, very simple one. So we, Friday, we removed 1 hour from our complete deployment. We just carved 30 minutes from canary and from every canary stage, because we were noticing this asset priming that took 30 minutes for staging canary, 30 minutes for production canary. I was suggesting to try to converge into a single job, and Igor just said, I mean, this takes, there's no reason why it should take 30 minutes. So he figured out that we were using rsync instead of CP, and so was rebuilding the whole status of the bucket, which it never deletes anything. So that same job changing from rsync to CP went from 30 minutes to 3 minutes. So basically it's a 1 hour, right? So this is an efficiency that should have been tracked by this type of tool, right? So drill down on every, and this is actually how we figured this out, because we were doing the Ruby 3 rollout. So we had a lot of time to look at the Jaeger metrics, and we were looking at all deployments just to have a rough idea of where we were into the overall process. So we are doing this. So usually, how long did it take this? And we were looking at the old metrics and say, why this is taking so long? Because we were there just looking at the pipelines. I mean, 5 engineers in a call trying to understand, to wait for the next step, right? And so we fixed this. But that's the point, right? So this is something in our control. And okay, now we have cut this number down. But if packaging takes longer, we can alert, but we can't really react. If QA fails more often, we can alert, but we can't react. So it's not that delivery goes there and fix the flaky QA test. So, and this is the thing. So either MTTP is a company goal and not a KPI for our team, or we need to isolate the things that are outside of our control, so that we can say it's going up, but it's going up where we have no control. So we are alerting those who are responsible for the section of MTTP that we can't control.
Exactly. And I think just to like we do have on our delivery strategy page, the two pieces. So we did deployment SLO year before last. And the two pieces that go alongside that, one is packaging SLO and one is like test SLO. And those are the two bits which, if we got those set up so they were dependable and like, visual, or somewhere that other people go and see the data, then we can absolutely set a target and go and like build expectations with other teams for that stuff.
I just wanted to say that pinging quality team when something goes wrong is also kind of action, right?
I wasn't thinking of that so much as like we have an agreement with the department around once things get to a certain, if things are consistently at a certain number, we go and we have some agreement. So not just like a kind of passive ping into a Slack channel, but actually some agreement with them that maybe it's like next quarter it becomes an OKR, or something a little bit bigger that we can actually go partner with them on.
It's not all about the amount of failure, right? If, let's say, every couple of weeks they start to add 10 minutes in the QA end-to-end, then we are going to end up to it all the benefit that maybe we had, or the work that Igor and Alessio did. So we need to establish also trend line alerting, also on traces and so on, and maybe even like directly ping them. Hey, the last 10 days, you start to gain 1 minute per week, per day, or something like that, and then we look into it. But not everything is part of us. So, and I understand the part where at the beginning you say, we added a lot of metrics, right? So we added a lot of metrics because we need to, one part of this is part of tracing and reducing release management workload, right? So retries is something that is important to understand how many retries we have. And so we need to start to understand what makes sense to measure and what we can like correlate together to, okay, this failure or this longer pipeline is longer because of that, and go down to a root cause. Because right now, if you have a pipeline that MTTP is like 1 hour longer, I'm not sure that anybody is going there to understand where we spend all this time, unless all this time we spend is an incident and we know exactly that is a single block of time. But if this time that we spent extra is because we retried the job 5 times, tomorrow no one will remember that. So I think we need to also be mindful there and understand with as a 80-20 rule, right? I'm quite sure that 20% of these small things that are contributing to 80% of our time. And I think we need to be, as a team, understanding what makes sense to measure and to expose in order to understand, to expose those.
And I think a lot of what's been difficult in the past has been planning the work we need to do to reduce like failures or workload or things like that, because we don't really have the data to back that up. So I think if we could figure out what questions we want to answer, maybe that makes it. We certainly don't need to know everything. But I know there are certainly things which, say, for example, on deployment SLO right now, when I go to it and try and use it, the thing that always strikes me is it's quite difficult to drill down. So you go, oh, great, there was a big spike last Tuesday, but I don't really know why. And so it's very hard to plan follow-up work to improve things.
Yeah, this is what Vladimir was pointing out, that we build end-to-end instead of job by job and then aggregate. So if we derive the overall time by aggregating at metrics level instead of collecting the overall metrics, then we would have drill down for free. You just have to build the aggregation.
One thing, I don't know if you've all thought about it already, but just to mention as well, is I think it is also useful to have these presented somewhere where people outside delivery can see them. So it would also be good for us to think about whether these end up on the delivery metrics handbook page, or whether that gets taken down and we replace it with something else. Like Quality have some quite cool Grafana integrations on their handbook pages which show graphs, but whatever we end up with, I think we should make sure it's something that's like visible and usable for people outside of delivery.
We have an issue already that should be added as exit criteria of this effort that we should document in our handbook. Some of them are as our performance indicators.
Oh,
so
okay.
we want to see them there. But I would like to get in the order of days to a clear understanding of what we want to document and why we document that, which kind of value we bring in because we're documenting that, right? Because if it's a performance indicator, maybe it's not a key one, but we need to be mindful of the target that we are also setting for each other.
Mm-hmm.
How much of this can we push to kind of Victor's team as well in those kind of pipelines and features that are absent, are missing?
None.
None.
At this stage, I would say none. I think there probably are things in the product that could help us, but I think the complex, like these sort of feel like two very either end of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think the big challenge we have when we try and map kind of our experience to the product is that our experience is like fully end to end, which means you're sort of touching on virtually every stage group. Not everyone, but like a lot of stage groups. So I think we need to be careful. Like we should try and map some of that stuff, but probably I wouldn't suggest combining them. I think that will add quite a lot of complexity.
Yeah, and we also have the same old problem that everything in the product is designed around the project, and we don't have those projects on ops, and we have coordinators, aggregations, and things like that, and nothing in the product maps to this.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do something in the release manager section, but it's really in line with what we are discussing right now. So maybe I would just quickly share this right now and then we continue because it's really on topic. So I was taking a look at this morning. Where is that? Okay. So I was trying to take a look at this top section here of Jaeger. So this is our Jaeger interface that is tracking coordinated pipelines. And this is really about, this is why I had all those questions this morning, because I was trying to filter out things out of this to try to understand what was happening. And I think that the current week is also special because of the Ruby 3 rollout. So it's really interesting. So just to give explaining what I'm doing here. So Zoom bar, come on. Here we go. So not yet, still in the middle. Okay. So basically we are filtering all the deployment for 1 month because there is a limit of retention of 1 month. And this thing here tells us that there are 82 traces. This is only tracking a successful deployment. Okay. So but the interesting part is that, first of all, this is not 3, but 13. So the first thing that was trying to figure out why we had so quick deployment here, this outlier, but no, they are the slow one. But yeah, that's CSS problem. But yeah, so we can see those clusters that are the weeks, right? And basically everything stays below the 820-hour threshold. I mean, the big bulk of everything. The funny thing, though, is that because this is tracking times end to end, the delay in approval are reflected here. Because there is because I was looking at this because I wanted to see the result of removing that 1 hour. So I was expecting to have quicker things here because we had just a couple of deployments since Friday evening, but I couldn't find them because obviously, if I didn't promote something for 30 minutes or an hour, I'm already eating all that benefit. So it didn't help me at this stage, but still, it's interesting. So this one here is the Ruby 3 rollout. So it's really interesting. Oh, this one here. I had the thing. Yeah. So this is really, really interesting. Get me my mouse back. So it's really hard to drill down. So the only thing you can do is just clicking here, and that's the whole end-to-end pipeline. And it shows basically you're looking for those things here, right? So why the staging, I mean, this is staging ref, we don't really care. Something like this. Why staging CNI took 8 hours and 12 minutes? Obviously, because we canceled this as part of the Ruby 3 rollout, and we replayed it the morning after. So this is it's a very interesting pipeline because it shows say weird behavior, right? Often this is not what happens daily, but it kind of give you hints, right? So what should I look at if something is completely off, right? So you have all those three, these are, can we come? Yeah, we should be able to collapse everything, kind of, no? This one, almost there. Yeah, and so, come on. Well, and looking at those big bar, we kind of see where things are not working as expected. And yeah, so this is interesting. What I wanted to really see here, but is not easy, is trying to, I mean, it's not possible right now, is trying to filter out things like pipeline that had failures or things like that. So because my question was, can I have a streamlined number of how long it really takes? But so the answer is no, I can't. So this is kind of goes into the question about what we would like to see, right? So, but this is already, I think, a very valuable information because I don't think we had a visualization like this one before. So it already shows trends, right? So, I mean, trends for 1 month because then we lose them. But yeah, so that's the thing that I wanted to show.
One question, we lose them because the observability backend doesn't keeps them for more than 1 month?
I think that Ruben knows the answer.
Yeah, I think their data retention is 1 month.
Yeah, but this is not going to fit us.
Yeah, I asked them about extending that, but they still have to decide their, what do you call it? Like, you know, their charges for like extending the data retention and stuff like that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So I understand, but so just asking because maybe if you ask them in an issue, Ruben, or you ask them in the chat.
No, it was in chat. We can open an issue to
yeah, maybe let's open an issue because if we start to have 1 month only, all these like seeing trends and everything, it's kind of, we're kind of losing it a bit. So this is not going to bring us all the value that we wanted, because if maybe we see a trend that is happening on a 7 weeks time or 8 weeks time, something like that, is not that obvious if you only have 4 weeks only, right? Okay. Do you mind to open an issue, Ruben? So, and maybe ping me ping me there.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'll open an issue. And
then another thing that came to my mind when I was trying to work with this is that because of how things are tracked together, that you had the deployment pipeline has a only element and then everything is nested to it, I mean, it's impossible to do the same thing for only production, because I was expecting to be able to do something like this. So we have operations here, right? So I say, yeah, give me this. So staging canary, right? This is the bridge pipeline. So maybe it's just showing me no, this is not what I wanted. Yeah. But basically, my understanding is that it's showing me every pipeline that includes that job. So I would get the same answer as before. While I was really hoping to have the same graph here, which is the same as before, but only for that specific pipeline. So if on that, there is something we can do where we can actually probably split here at service level, I suppose, right? So if my understanding of how these things behave. So right now we are pushing the metrics end to end, but if we could split it by deployment target or things like that, it will kind of probably be more actionable in terms of looking at things.
I think I think it makes sense to add this to Grafana actually, and Again, you can have the same results if you have deployment metrics per deployment, right? And then you can even, drill down to the logs if you add Elasticsearch endpoint. And traces, I would see traces better works on job level. So like trace the job, like what exactly it's doing, not on like the whole pipeline level, because in the whole pipeline level, it's like metrics and logs is enough, I think. And they bring more value from my point of view.
Yeah, this is true. I'm more concerned about the having, I mean, probably with aggregation it works as well. Having a bird eye view on things that we don't control over things that we control. Like, so in a production deployment, I will likely go down and drill down on what's in there, but probably in QA, I'm not interested that much, right? So I would rather to just see QA as a whole block. But I mean, once you have everything, and once you have all the aggregation and all the drill down, you can navigate the way you like it.
I will point out that aggregating metrics of job durations is not the same as a trace, because many of our jobs run in parallel. So a trace is important on the pipeline level as well, to understand how things run together, and when can something be parallelized, when can something not be parallelized, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Alessio's idea of separating out the pipeline traces by pipeline, I guess, or by service is interesting, but I suppose we will still want to have like a trace of the whole thing, or not?
Yeah.
We will still want, yeah.
But I see there are things like the dependency graph. I don't know this tool very well, so I'm kind of thinking if there is an option where different elements in this thing can still link to other, so that, because just giving a random an example, right? So we have this thing and everything is the same color and everything looks like this is a single trace from a single entity. But I'm wondering if there is any option to just link into another trace so that you can look at the thing on a different level. I mean, from the query perspective, right? So you can query on only staging canary deployments, and so the numbers and the values you get are just if we go back here, this thing here. So everything inside this block. So my base unit of reference is this 29 minutes sub pipeline.
Ruben, this is what we're looking on in combat, right?
Yeah, it's a much better tool. Yeah, so there are industry tools which are much better than Jaeger, but they have their own problems, especially like with procurement and legal and stuff like that.
Honestly,
Sorry.
I never seen someone using Jaeger UI by itself. Like if it's if it's a trace, is that people just take the traces and put them into, I don't know, Datadog or Honeycomb or Grafana or something like that. Like never use and like no one uses Jaeger UI because it's just super simple and it doesn't have a lot of functionality. And it's I don't know, I would take those traces and just deliver them to Grafana.
So we have an issue for that, Vladimir, right? So I think out of this call today, I think we need to prioritize things that Alessio today showed us, because I mean, it look how to generate value out of this effort. So, and clearly if we want to see all the failed pipelines as well, we have an issue for that to start tracking also pipeline that they failed, because right now is only a successful one. We also already discussed about, we want to have more granularity on the traces, also group by pipeline or service. And also we want to see only, I don't know, staging canary deployments and see all of them. So that was another issue. And plus, so from today things, I think today we can start to prioritize in the work on that epic, those things, because I want to get at the end of this quarter where we can answer those questions out of that, right? And I'm not an expert in Grafana. I don't know how Grafana can work out of these grouping together and everything. So we have also an issue for that, look into that, but it's good that we need to start to work in visualization, because it's how we actually extracting value out of this all this information.
I think the Jaeger stuff gives you a good baseline that the information is going to be useful as well, and that it's worth investing in something that gives you more useful information.
What about like a decision about aggregated metrics versus metrics by pipeline? Do we agree on getting metrics on pipeline and ditch some of the metrics that can be replaced with high level aggregations?
And we have a proof of concept of this, a very simple thing with 3 nested pipeline, even a synthetic one, because what I'm thinking is probably we don't have a good understanding of what Grafana can do, but just going to the effort of instrumenting, deployer, QA, packaging, and everything probably is too much, right? So if we can just build a fake job in 3 different projects, something like this, something that gives us the sense of the complexity that we have when we want to drill down. And so we see, right, and say, because I have this feeling that probably is the right move, but maybe we can see what we can see. Yeah, we can see what we can see. Yeah, this is terrible with Grafana and make a decision.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. That was extremely useful to understand this. Anything else on the metrics topic? If not, thank you again. And release managers.
Sure. So let me share my screen again. So no, this is the epic thing. Here we go. This is a very, very, very interesting week. So that's the Ruby 3 rollout window, which obviously we can see from the number of target packages, the number of pipelines, everything reflects that we were not working as usual. And then by when we re-enabled, this is when I re-enabled the auto deploy pipelines in the morning, we can see that it's ramping up, going to its regular number of packages daily, and kinds of the number of things that got promoted is kind of in line with the usual 3, 4, 2 wasted packages each day. The second part of the week was a bit more challenging. Let me take a look at my notes as well. If I remember, not only we have this very interesting outage window of PDM not working for the whole weekend plus even more, but we had problems with flaky QA. We were doing the secure. No, what have we done? The patch release. We have done a patch release, and so we kind of had a bit of challenges, let's say, in the final part of the week. And this is, yeah, clearly all reflected by those things. Those same things are still clearly visible in the lead time for changes, because I think we've, probably with Family and Friends Day, we have seen similar situations. No, we never, because basically we have a single hole. So usually when we have a Family and Friends Day, this leg here is longer, but then the week begins and it goes up until the end of the week. This time we had, basically this is a month, this is was month day, isn't it? Yep. And it's interesting to see this in comparison with this, but they they are on different pages. So this is still the 6th. So the 6th, we only did a deployment because it was the preparation for the Ruby 3 rollout. So Monday morning, we just make a package and get it through everything. And then everything was on pause. And that's the deployment, right? Which here has this, just then we have a dip before and after. And here is just the representation of on, call it MTTP, right? So we had one data point, which is the 2.7 days, which is the weekend. And then there is another gray line because we were not deploying up until the end of the 8th, when, because basically that single pipeline that included the Ruby 3 rollout was canceled and delayed for more than 1 day, because we were just running every single job in isolation and with baking time in between. And so, yeah, this is what happened. The median, this is the median. The median increased as well, because now we have 18 hours because of all of this. And yeah, that's basically what we were expecting. Same things we see here, dip, 0 deployment, tracked on 7. And then by the end of the 8th, we had those 3 deployments, and we are getting back to 7, 8, 9, the regular numbers. So, and this again, the struggle we were seeing on the first graph here, when we were not promoting packages as expected, and we can see here by this 4 deployments instead of the usual 7, 8. So yeah, all these numbers seems to adds up. And that's all. Question?
No, since there are no questions. Anything else you want to bring up in the recording?